Hi, welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about how we could create a plot in base R to compare two quantitative variables. And the plot that we would use to compare those two quantitative variables would be what's called a scatter plot. And there are different functions and different packages that we can use to create these plots. In this video, we're going to use base R, and we're going to use the plot function that we've used to create other types of plots. But in this case, we're going to use the plot function to create a scatter plot. And we're going to be working with the same storms data frame that we've been working with, which is in the dplyr package. So there's a link to this Colab notebook in the description of this video. You're going to want to load the dplyr package and do some convert some variables to the right data type that we ran in earlier videos. If you're just opening this and this is the very first code cell that you're about to run, you're going to want to make sure that you run all of the previous code cells prior to this one. So if you're kind of on this code cell and you go to runtime and you just click run before, that's going to run everything in this code cell, in this notebook, including all of these help commands that I don't want open. So I'm going to close all of these out. But now you should be up to speed so that you've got the dplyr package loaded, and all of the variables in the storms data frame should be of the right data type. And so the plot function that we've been working with, just recall that if you plot one categorical variable, it's going to create a bar plot. If you plot one numeric variable, it's going to create an index plot. If you plot one categorical variable and numeric variable, it's going to create those side-by-side box plots. Let's say I want to create a plot that compares the wind speed and pressure of storms. So wind speed and pressure, these are both quantitative variables. They're measured numerically. We can use very similar syntax as we used when we created these side-by-side box plots with this tilde notation up here. I'm going to just kind of make this simple and not use lots of labels and colors just to keep this simple. But over here, we would indicate the two quantitative variables, which would be the wind variable and the pressure variable. And then we would indicate the data frame that we're getting those variables from. So the data frame name is storms. The two variable names are wind and pressure. And what we want to be mindful of here is that when you're plotting things, what is being plotted on what axis? And the way it works with when we're using the tilde syntax is that what comes on the left side of the tilde, what comes first, is actually going to be plotted on the y-axis, and what comes after the tilde is going to be plotted on the x-axis. So it's kind of like what comes first is the response variable, and what comes on the right of that tilde are the predictor variables. So let's kind of run this code cell and take a look at what comes out. It oddly looks like a map of Florida, but it has nothing to do with Florida. What we're looking at here is just that as the pressure of the storm goes up, the wind speed of the storm is going down. So this is like an inverse relationship. So it's actually the higher the pressure, the lower the wind speed, or the lower the pressure, the higher the wind speed is. So that's one way we could create this scatter plot, and you kind of read scatter plots the same way that you read like typical plots in a math class, X and Y axis. The first coordinate is telling me the pressure, and the second coordinate is telling me the wind speed. If you don't like using that tilde notation, and you prefer using the notation that says like storms $ variable name, then you can create the plot by entering first the values that are going to be plotted on the x-axis, followed by the values that are going to be plotted on the y-axis. So if I run this code cell here, it creates the same exact plot that we had above. Just I'm using different syntax here. But the thing you want to be really careful about is the ordering is a little different in these two commands, although the plots that came out look the same. So when I use the $ notation here, the first thing that I enter is what's being plotted on the x-axis, which is pressure. And then the second thing I enter is what's being plotted on the y-axis, which is the wind speed. And when I use this tilde notation over here, the first thing that's being entered is the response variable, which is being plotted on the y-axis. And the second thing I enter is what's being plotted on the x-axis, which is the predictor variable, which is the pressure. So the plot function, again, is going to generate a different type of plot depending on the data type of the variable. If the variable is quantitative, it's an index plot. If the data type is categorical, it's a bar plot. If it's one quantitative and one categorical variable, it's side-by-side box plots. If it's two quantitative variables, then we get a scatter plot.